Asalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to my channel. Yes, I am wearing the same outfit as in my last video because I'm shooting a lot of content today. Okay, so just bear with me. Okay, so in this video we're going to be discussing things wives say to their husbands and what they actually mean. So this video actually will benefit a lot of my brothers because sisters, I'm about to pull out the secrets. Okay, and I was actually inspired to make this video because I was sitting there thinking, sometimes us women, we don't say what we mean. We say something, but really what we mean is something else. And that's why men think we're so complicated. And we are. And, that it spices things up. We can't all be as straightforward as some other people. Sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of complication. It keeps things interesting. But anyways, I think you guys are going to love today's video. So without any further ado, let's jump into the 6 things wives say to their husbands and what they actually mean by it. When your wife says to you, brother, leave me alone, she actually doesn't mean you should leave her alone. She does, but it means leave me alone for now and then come back later and inquire about what's wrong with me. One of the wisdoms about marriage is just to learn to say you're sorry, whether you mean it or not. Just saying sorry just diffuses the situation. Sometimes you don't mean it, sometimes you're not actually sorry, but just to diffuse the situation, say, I'm sorry. When she says, I'm leaving, and she goes to the room, start packing her bags, you better tell her, please don't go, please stay, I'm sorry, I love you. You better do all of that because that's really what she wants. She wants you to chase her. When you tell her, okay, you go and pack your bags and make sure you don't come back, you're going to be in so much more trouble than you are. Of course, that is for when you're the one that's done something wrong. If she's the one that's done something wrong, then of course she has to come to her own realization and apologize. But if you know you've messed up and she says, leave me alone or I'm leaving, you better chase her. If she says, leave me alone and you just don't bother, it just shows that you don't care. In our heads, that's how it works. That's point number 1. Point number 2, you don't love me. Brothers, have you ever had your wife tell you, you don't love me? She actually doesn't mean that you don't love her. It might mean 2 things. Number 1, that you don't say you love her or that you don't show you love her. Oh, another one, it might just mean that you don't do what she tells you to do. That's what you don't love me means. You don't do what she tells you to do, okay? We're complicated, so most of the time we don't say what we mean. So when your wife says you don't love me, usually means you don't show that you love her, or maybe you don't say that you love her, or when you refuse to do what she tells you to do, she interprets it as you don't love me. Okay, it could mean a whole other stuff as well. Sometimes if you don't stand up for her and you choose other people before her, she's interpreting all of that as you love that person or you're choosing that person over me, therefore you don't love me. In which case, what you should be doing, because I feel like I should add this to the video as well, because men, you still like, okay, so what do I do? If she says you don't love me, please tell her you love her. Please remind her that you love her. And please do something to show her that you love her. Because a lot of the time, us women, our complaint is that you men are just, you're not considerate at times, okay? You get used to things get routine, especially in marriage. You get into a routine and you forget to actually show your wife that you still love and care for her. Yeah, and sometimes that's just what she wants to feel like. She wants to feel loved and she wants to feel cared for. The next thing that wives say to their husbands, and what it means is, I don't mean anything to you. If your wife says, I don't mean anything to you, what she really means is, you don't put me first. You don't prioritize me. So sometimes it happens in life that in different situations, in different scenarios, you actually have to show your wife that she comes first. And if you're not showing her that she comes first and you're always putting other people before her or other people before the family, she's going to interpret that as she doesn't mean anything to you. Because if you value something, it becomes a priority for you. So that's how she reaches that conclusion. So I don't mean anything to you means you don't put me first. So please be careful with that, because when a woman is beginning to feel like you don't put her first and maybe she's always last, you consider her last. You do for everybody else and she's always last. You have to be careful, because that can begin to build into resentment, and that's one of the things that can cause problems in marriages, is when one person, it can also happen to a man, but when one person is beginning to feel like they are not important, that can be a problem. I don't mean anything to you means you don't put me first. The fifth thing that women say is, you can do what you want. When your wife says to you in an argument, you can do what you want, what she really means is, you better not do what you're trying to do. Okay? She really doesn't mean you can do what you want, because you can do what you want means if you do what you want, there's going to be consequences. Yeah? Oh my God, subhanAllah. As I make this video, I'm just realizing how complicated we are as women. But alhamdulillah. So you can do what you want means you better not do what you want. You know that bright idea you had, you think it's a good idea, and she's telling you don't do it. It means you better not do it, because if you do it and the consequences come, she will tell you I told you so. Or if you go ahead and do it, you're going to be in more trouble than you already are. So you can do what you want means you can't do what you want. What it really means is, do what I tell you to do. Do what I tell you to do. That's what it really means sometimes. Of course, these are like infinite, like in every situation. But I think generally as women, this is what we mean. Like, sisters, am I right or am I right? For the most part, this is what we mean. But honestly, brothers, I know you're all sensible as well. So read the situation. Sometimes if she says you can do what you want, she really means she's okay with it. But it won't come across in that kind of a tone. She won't say, if she's okay with you doing something, if you bring up an idea, she'll say, yeah, I agree. I think that's a good idea. Okay, that's her actually agreeing. But at the point when she's like, you can do what you want, it's like, well, you would be silly to do what you want. The final and sixth thing, which I was actually coaching the children of one of the sisters that I normally coach and her son, and they were having some misunderstandings, and he as a man just couldn't understand some of the issues that mom was struggling with and his sisters were struggling with. And I had to explain this next point to him, and that is repetition. Women repeat themselves so many times, and it becomes like nagging. This is what men call nagging, right? But we repeat things so many times. Number one, because we're not feeling heard. She's not feeling heard, number one. Or when she repeats things over and over again, it means she wants you to agree with her. And sometimes, here's another secret, sometimes just to calm things down, you kind of have to agree with her for now, and then later on try to explain things in a way that's more logical. Because in the moment, we women, we have more emotions. We're just made more emotionally. That's how Allah created us. And so sometimes we're overwhelmed by our emotions, and we keep repeating stuff and saying things over and over and over again. The more you try to make us see sense in that moment, the worse the situation is going to get. So just to diffuse the situation, agree with her for now. At least just make her feel like you're hearing her. Okay, so as she's saying whatever it is that's bothering her, she's repeating and repeating, you should just be like, yeah, oh really, okay, yeah, just show that you're actually listening, right? And not just be like, yeah, but you're actually focusing on something else. Give her your attention and just make it seem as though you're hearing her. And even if you have an opposing view, hold your view for now. The time when a woman is upset is not the time for you to start saying, yeah, but, and then bringing up the other opinions, because she's going to fight you more, right? So just make her feel heard. And then later on, when she's a lot more calmer, when she's out of that, emotional state, then you can reason with her, and she's far more likely to understand the other point of view then. It doesn't mean she'll agree with it, but it just means she'll be a lot more receptive of it. But when you try to push it in that moment when she's upset and she keeps going on and on about stuff, it doesn't work. Okay, so that is the final thing, repetition, and it can mean anything. She could be repeating whatever it is that she likes to repeat. Usually what it means is that she's having to repeat because she doesn't feel heard, or she's having to repeat because she needs you to agree with her. It could also have so many other multiple meanings. We also have to repeat ourselves a lot as women, because sometimes men don't listen. You guys don't listen. Like, we told you to do something and like, yeah, I'll do it. And then 5 hours later, it's still not done. So we have to repeat. And then the next day is still not done. So guys, those are the 6 things that women say to their husbands and what they actually mean. This can literally be an endless list. I can't make a video of all of the things because I would be making videos on this one topic for the rest of my life, because there's lots of times when we say something but really what we mean is something else, and we expect the men to understand, and then we forget that their brains are wired differently. Like, if you want a man to know what you mean, you actually have to say what you mean and not to infer it, not to imply its meaning, just say it as it is. But sometimes that's what make the relationship between men and women interesting, because we're different, and sometimes that can also make it challenging because we have to spend a whole lifetime trying to figure out how to exist with one another in a way that would make things work. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope it made you giggle a little bit. Sisters, I hope you can relate. If you want to be honest, I'm right about a lot of this, right? But anyways, you can leave some of your ideas of things women say and what they actually mean in the comment section down below, so the men brothers can go over there and read it and we can all have a giggle. Yeah, it's just interesting, but something to bring our attention to how different we are when it comes to the way we communicate as men and women. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure you give it a thumbs up, share this video with another brother or a sister, and let's all have a laugh about it and realize how silly we are in some of the things we do. But alhamdulillah, it's all hayr. Anyways, I will see you guys in my next video, inshallah. Assalamualaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.